The country's rebuilding efforts following a recent hurricane strike. Government to release statement on the Otumfuo 82 Boku mediation report today. We have details for you if you stay with us. A pleasure that you could join us this afternoon here on News Central. The bulletin starts in a minute. Now, the Asantehene Otumfuo 82 II has recommended a strict enforcement of Ghana's existing laws recognizing Asigri Abugragwa Azoka II as the lawful Boku Naba as the most critical step toward restoring lasting peace in Boku and the wider Kusasi traditional area. In his mediation report on the protracted Boku conflict, as read during a presentation to government at the Jubilee House, the Otumfuo stated that no chief or traditional authority stands above the Constitution and the decisions of the court.
His recommendation followed extensive engagement with the Nayiri of Mampurugu Nayiri, Nabo Hagumba Mahami Abdullahi Sheriga the Bokunaba, and other traditional leaders as part of efforts to find an amicable and sustainable resolution to years of violence between Kusasis and Mamprisi groups. The Otumfuo noted that the legal position on the Boku chieftaincy has been settled through PNDC Law 75 and the 1992 Constitution, subsequent to Supreme Court rulings which collectively recognize the Bokunaba as the head chief with jurisdiction over the Kusasi traditional area. He observed that attempts to challenge his position have been closed by the court, while acknowledging the historical ties of Mampurugu Kingdom to lands in the Boku area. The Asantehene said the present legal realities make it untenable to pursue arrangements that contradict settled law, particularly regarding claims to the Boku skin.
Boku was mentioned in the proposed terms of settlement of the Nairi as one of the towns that the Mamprisi wanted to be given to the Nairi. Unfortunately, the law as it stands now makes Asigri Abugragwa Azoka the lawful chief of Boku, and so it is impossible legally to do any such thing in this mediation exercise. On the question of Boku town, I have taken the position that the established tradition since 1931 thereabout is that the person who is Bokunaba has the entire Kusasi area.
The Asantehene, however, maintained that any concession must align with the law and respect existing legal authority.
By law and the declarations of the Supreme Court of Ghana, Asigri Abugragwa Azoka is the Bokunaba, and there cannot be any rival residing in Boku claiming otherwise. I have impressed upon my brother the Nairi to accept that recognition by law in appreciation of the enduring brotherhood that has existed between our two kingdoms in order to ensure lasting peace and eliminate the national and international security threats that my brother himself is so concerned about. I have been candid with my brother the Nairi that the purported enskinment of Mr. Seydou Abagari as Bokunaba cannot stand.
He further warned that failure to enforce the lawful status of the Bokunaba continues to fuel insecurity in the area, describing the conflict as a growing security concern. The president, Mahama, on his side, says his government will see to a full implementation of the recommendations.
Teachers refuse to be posted there, doctors refuse to be posted there, civil servants are leaving. We're doing national service postings, and we have suspended posting national service men and women to Boku because we cannot guarantee their safety. And so I'm pleased that Otumfuo's mediation has come to an end and that he has presented a report, and I can assure him that government would look at this report, and within the next 24 hours, government will issue a statement.
Chief of Staff.
Well, that's the president as well in relation to this particular subject matter. And we're looking forward to that statement coming through and deciding the way forward. But let's take you right now to the Upper East region and connect with my colleague Castro Senyala, find out the mood in the town following the presentation of the roadmap to peace. Castro, what have you heard from your sources about the situation in Bawku and peace prevailing?
Right now, I can report that Bawku is very calm at the moment. Since from last night to today, I have received information that Bawku is very calm. People felt that, or the general public felt that following the declaration, there would have been issues. But from my security sources, who I continuously stay in touch with, there haven't been disturbances since last night to this morning and this afternoon. I was with the military in Bawku 2 days ago, and the area is generally calm and peaceful. There haven't been any issues whatsoever, except that I can report that the tensions are very high in the Bawku municipality, especially following the declaration yesterday, which we saw and we heard about. But there hasn't been any issue whatsoever, and I can report that people are going about their activities in their municipality. And the entire Bawku general area and Benue areas, people are going about their activities. Mawuena, let me also add that the military is continuing its efforts. In fact, intensified their patrols, especially in the night. They've also intensified their, checkpoints where they continue to search and go through vehicles that are coming in and going out of Bawku, and they continue to be on alert to respond to any issue that may pop up following the declaration. Additionally, they've also deployed the drones which are in the sky day and night, monitoring for, potential violent or, chaotic incidents that may pop up or that may come about as a result of the declaration yesterday by the Otumfuo-led committee.
Castro, thank you for those details. That's my colleague Castro Senyala helping us understand the situation presently. But just by way of a refresher for you, if you're not quite conversant with what the determination or the recommendations as they were of the Otumfuo was yesterday, I'm going to go on to the dashboard and walk you through again what the position of the Otumfuo was following the mediation work that he undertook yesterday as well in relation to what has been a long-standing concern across administrations, and this particular mediation process was started by the former president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was continued by the current president, and now we've seen the recommendation. I must add that the current president has stressed the need to see peace return to Bawku. In fact, a week after he was sworn in on the 7th of January of this year, which presupposes on the 14th of January of this year, he was in Bawku where he made the promise that he will seek to do all within his power to ensure peace returns. And yesterday we heard him mention that he connected with Otumfuo and asked the progress of the mediation work, amongst many other things. And so this is where we are currently. And based on that, I'm going to read verbatim what the report was, which was read by the Otumfuo himself, and we've captured here. And so he says, and that's the Otumfuo, that Zugran Abugragwa Azoka II is the lawful recognized Bawku Naba and head of the Kusasi traditional area under Ghanaian law. Given existing legal rulings and current realities, acceptance of Kusasi rule in Bawku is both lawful and pragmatic. These are the words of the Asantehene. Now he proceeds to say that all chiefs, irrespective of status, are subject to this particular document, the 1992 Constitution, and the authority of the courts. The Supreme Court of Ghana remains the final arbiter on all chieftaincy matters, and government must fully enforce all laws and court decisions recognizing Zugran Abugragwa Azoka II and act firmly against any person or group that challenges his lawful authority. The purported enskinment of Mr. Sedia Bagri as Bawku Naba is invalid and without legal effect. The words of the Otumfuo, he should be recalled to Nalerigu for reassignment to another traditional role with state facilitation, or remain in Bawku strictly as a private citizen, not as Bawku Naba. And finally, all parties must refrain from inflammatory public statements, particularly on radio, which risk reigniting tensions. Engagement with the parties reveal the continued presence of arms, even during mediation. A non-governmental appeasement arrangement involving approximately 500 individuals may be considered to facilitate the voluntary surrender of weapons at a designated safe location. Those are the words of the Otumfuo. We can now speak to Senior Research Fellow at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, Dr. Victor Doke. He's also a security analyst, on what it is that we've made of everything. Doc, I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Your thoughts on these recommendations by the Asantehene and the expectations on the government going forward?
Right, thank you, Mawuena. As a point of correction, I'm a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. That's that. Okay,
right.
No senior attached. Not yet. Okay, thank you. So I think with regards to the recommendations, they are very, the second has spoken, and then giving the recommendations, what he has ascertained, listening to the two sides, and having presented the overall interest, needs, and wants, describe the situations, given your verdict, the king has now come out with what it is, our recommendations for the government to act on. So let's bear in mind that in such situations, when there are recommendations, the institute or agency that has the mandate to implement could decide to or not to. So it's two ways. But in this case, the king, with all the respect and oral passwords, pleaded with the government to see to it that these recommendations are implemented. So it's very key that the government takes into consideration the fact that the king's reputation is at stake. If this recommendation is to work, or some will be neglected. But to rule out all these recommendations from means that if opinion has been taken into consideration and the respect that has been accorded to him. So that is what the central government must do. Implement recommendation, not leaving one that they may, seem to have, whether it favors them or not. But in this case, for most of us, people in this case want to see finality to the issue. So the recommendations, most of it are reasonable, and I agree with most of the recommendations.
We've heard the recommendations, but talk to us about the importance that must be attached to the reconciliation part of all of this towards moving the entire enclave to peace. Because we've seen or we've heard the Otumfuo stress that there's a need for reconciliation, and he's willing to, or he's ready to lead that. How important is government coming in as well in being a part of this reconciliation effort?
Yeah, government comes in with regards to putting together resources. It's very vital. Apart from the resources that is needed, each agency would have a role to play, and that forms the stakeholders. And in this particular instance, we're talking about reconciliation. It's not only the main actors. You need external actors such as government, each agency, civil society organizations, grassroots organizations, all coming together for this comprehensive reconciliation. And so there would be a roadmap going with regards to how the reconciliation should go or come about. And you wouldn't just have a reconciliation based on just rhetoric, but actionable such as what exactly would be done. Traditional reconciliation approaches would have to be considered. And here they can look at the Bawku Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee, using that committee revamping the committee, resourcing the committee, reinstituting the membership, including more women in that membership, because we know the role women play in that building, and then making the civil society focal when it comes to peace building activities in the area. So it is very key that they consider all these things, but most importantly, the resources that the government will have to provide for National Peace Council, for the state security agencies and whatnot, Small Arms Commission, with regards to getting the arms out of the area, peace building activities being led by National Peace Council through the civil society organization. It is very key.
Right. I'm sure we will await the government's statement a lot later today, and then we'll see where it takes all of us in terms of our efforts in bringing peace to Boko. But I appreciate you, Doc, for speaking to us this afternoon.
Right. Thank you very much.
That's Dr. Victor Doke. He's a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, and also a security analyst, joining us this afternoon in relation to the conversation about returning peace to the township of Boko and what will be done in that regard as well. Now, the Ashanti Regional Intelligence Directorate has arrested a 7 military officer in Kumasi for allegedly attempting to sell high-powered firearms and ammunition. The suspect, identified as Warrant Officer Class 2 David Kofi Brew of the 4th Battalion of Infantry, Kumasi, was arrested on December 16 at the Bekwai Shell Filling Station while attempting to hand over the weapons to an undercover agent. According to the Ashanti South PID, the suspect was found in possession of a TMM-22 assault rifle, a pistol, GX2 pistol, and a large quantity of ammunition, including 99 rounds for the assault rifle and 100 rounds for the pistol, together with multiple magazines. Investigations revealed that the arrest followed intelligence gathered on the activities of individuals supplying firearms to criminal elements within Obuasi and surrounding communities. Acting on the intelligence, officers engaged the suspect, who allegedly indicated his ability to supply various weapons to them. And I'm sure it's a subject matter that will be of interest, and we'll follow through and bring you details of. Now, a total of 25 suspected criminals and illicit drug dealers are in police custody following a major swoop by the Techiman District Police Command on known criminal hideouts within the Techiman municipality. The operation, carried out yesterday, was led by the Techiman District Police Commander, Superintendent Charles Echia, and forms part of intensified efforts by the police to dismantle criminal networks and clamp down on drug-related activities in the municipality. The first phase of the targeted operation looked at ghettos at Abemu, where 13 suspects were picked up. The suspects are between the ages of 17 and 27. From Abemu, the police team moved to Kenten, where 6 additional suspects were arrested. Those picked up include Amadou Charles and Kofi Alex, both 20, Zongo Umar, 35, Sharaf Yaya, 18, Nuruddin Abu, 25, and Solomon Shiganyi. The swoop was later extended to Tako, leading to the arrest of another 16 suspects. Let's take you to Parliament right now, because there is quite the interest in relation to Ghana's latest mining agreement that has to do with the lithium deal. Christian Yale is in Parliament for us. We know there's been quite the concern after the government tabled a newer arrangement or a new agreement which was seeking to hand us 5% royalty. That came under a barrage of criticism, and subsequently, following meetings by the president with some CSO groupings, the agreement was withdrawn from Parliament. But it does appear it's come back on the floor of the House for some debate. Let's go to Christian Yale right now for some details as to exactly what's playing out on the floor of the House. Christian, talk to us. What's happening? Christian, can you tell us what's happening in relation to this lithium mining agreement?
What we know is that even from the very first deal or agreement that was brought to Parliament, which was later withdrawn, the issue has always been about the royalty rate of the agreement. First, it was 10%. Many had expressed the view that the 10% was inadequate and, in a way, put the country in a very bad situation. Then later, when this government comes into office, a new deal is brought before Parliament, but this time around, even the rate is reduced to 5%. And so this brought in the public opinion and the backlash, if you would call it that way, with many expressing the view that it is a poor deal in the first place and that there is a need to adjust the royalty rate. In fact, there is Imani Africa, for instance, who has made a case that if anything at all, we should adopt what they call the sliding scale, so that you have a sliding scale of at least 10%, which means that over the period, the rate could even be higher based on how much the profit the company is making. Then it would more or less give the country some more advantage. And so even the committee itself on lands and natural resources has started making, some consultations with those who matter in terms of the stakeholders. Today, the minority is making the case that when the deal was first brought before the House, the acting environment minister, who is the lands minister, Emmanuel Amakofibua, had defended the deal that it was a good one for the country, only for them to withdraw and later start to make or have the stakeholder consultation. ECOWAS is of the view that these kinds of inconsistencies and contradictions have put Parliament in a bad light, and again has eroded public confidence, and again has weakened the country's negotiating position concerning the deal. We can take a listen to what he has been telling the media on this particular issue.
Right, we'll hear from him shortly, but what is the demand of them? They want the minister to resign?
Exactly, they want the minister to resign because they are of the view that in any quote-unquote serious democracy, when a minister commits such blunder, so to speak, they would honorably resign on their own accord without being told to do so. Now, the argument is that the acting environment minister has been handling this case in an erratic manner. That is the exact words that ECOWAS uses, that his erratic handling of the lithium mining agreement is one that has, brought about all of these inconsistencies. First, you defend it, and then later, when the CSOs attack you, you then withdraw it and start stakeholder engagement. And so, in the midst of all of this, he should resign. That is what he is saying.
Right then, Chris. We'll hear from Echo Vincent Asifua when that is ready. But on the floor of the House today, what are we to expect? And I can hear that bell sounding loudly to suggest that MPs are to make their way onto the chamber.
Yes, Eric, what it is that already there are some bills like the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology Bill 2025, which was laid on the floor yesterday. They have started a consideration. That particular bill is seeking to abolish the first act that established that university and then would reenact it to bring about some reforms. One concern has been the case that KNUST over the period has been admitting more students into the social sciences and humanities. What the minister fears is that that could eventually take away the core mandate of the school, which is to look into the sciences and technology courses and thereof. There is also that bill about the Bank of Ghana, which is the amendment bill, which in that bill has some reforms like extending the tenure of the board members from 4 years to 5 years, one that the minority side has opposed. It also has another clause that is seeking to prevent or stop members of parliament from serving on the board. In fact, yesterday, when it was being debated, after the second motion was read, the minority raised the case that it would weaken the Bank of Ghana, and especially what they call the oversight responsibility of parliament over the BOG. And so those bills would be brought back again, plus a number of estimates that should be looked at before the appropriation bill is eventually passed, and the House would go on recess on Friday.
Very much for those details. That's Christian Yale, is my colleague for us in Parliament, and those loud bells signifying to members of Parliament to make their way into the chamber, most certainly. As and when there are fresh developments from there, we'll bring that to you. For now, the government of Ghana has deployed a contingent of 54 soldiers to Jamaica as part of an international support mission to assist the country's rebuilding efforts. The deployment reflects Ghana's commitment to regional and global solidarity, particularly in support of countries undergoing reconstruction and recovery. The soldiers drawn from the Ghana Armed Forces are expected to provide technical, logistical, and operational support to ongoing rebuilding initiatives. The mission highlights Ghana's growing role in international peacekeeping and humanitarian assistance, in line with its long-standing tradition of contributing personnel to promote stability and development beyond its borders. Joseph Armstrong Gold Alogbe is my colleague whose witness was showing you pictures and videos of the men in uniform. Let's go to him right now. Armstrong, talk to us about this deployment and what more we know.
Yeah, so Mawuena, currently as I speak to you now, the Ghanaian troops are just about taken off from the airport. About 54 of them drawn from the 48th Engineers Department are just about moving. This morning, a short ceremony was held with the president in attendance, where he spoke to them, asking them to go make Ghana proud. But first of all, the attack going to Jamaica is to help temporarily build some tents for those who have been replaced following the October 28th hurricane that struck Jamaica, at least killing about 32 of them and also displacing about 1.5 million citizens. The president spoke with the troops. Let's take a listen to him.
A solemn and proud national duty to see of officers and men of the Ghana Armed Forces who have been selected to represent Ghana on a humanitarian reconstruction mission to Jamaica following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. This deployment reflects Ghana's solidarity with the people of Jamaica and our shared history, values, and bonds within the African Caribbean family. After the destruction of the hurricane, Ghana dispatched humanitarian assistance to the friendly people of Jamaica and Cuba, and also to the displaced people of Sudan. Ghana has consistently stood for international solidarity, humanitarian assistance, and global responsibility. Our nation understands the pain of natural disasters and the long road to recovery. I commend the Ghana Armed Forces for their professionalism, for their discipline, and their readiness to serve not only at home, but anywhere in the world duty calls. This mission is not a combat mission. It is a mission of compassion, skill, and service.
So with us on the phone, Armstrong, can you share a bit more light on the specific tasks these men are expected to undertake in support of the rebuilding efforts? Do we know?
Yeah, so as it stands right now, due to the devastating hurricane strike that took place on the 28th of October, almost all the citizens there have lost their homes, a place to sleep they do not have. So the soldiers are responsible for, as it is now, to build a tent, a temporary tent for them to be sleeping in whilst they take their time to put up their structures that have been destroyed within the past 2 months. Their main aim also is to help with the planting in terms of farming and other things. So both male and females have been deployed to this place to assist them in any capacity at all that they've been trained for, so that as it stands right now, the people of Jamaica will come back on their faith as they were before. Mawuena.
We know how long this mission is expected to take.
As it stands right now, we are told it's supposed to be beyond 1 month mission, but it's also depend on how the services is going to be like and how fast the reconstruction of those who have been affected is going to be. But as it stands right now, the official communique I got from some of the troops that are going, we are told it's going to be about a month or two.
Right then, Armstrong, thank you very much for those details. That's Armstrong Goodalogba, my colleague from the report base, talking to us about the 54 who are going out to help reconstruct and rebuild in Jamaica. It will take us on to our very first break here on News Central. When we return, we have a bit more stories for you, so please do stay. This afternoon, Africa's push for the free movement of people has recorded measurable gains a decade after the launch of the Africa Visa Openness Index. The 2025 report, jointly produced by the African Development Bank and the African Union Commission, was unveiled on Friday, the 12th of December in Abidjan, highlighting progress made and challenges that remain in easing travel across the continent. The report shows that Africa is more open today than it was 10 years ago. The average visa openness score across the continent has risen to 0.448 in 2025, with the top performing countries demonstrating that sustained political commitment can deliver results. However, a clear plan or a clear gap remains between leading reformers and countries that are moving more slowly. Let's get on to Zoom now and speak to the director of AFDB's Regional Integration Office, Dr. Joy Kategewa, for more on how African countries are embracing the no visa policy on the continent. Doc, can you explain to us what concrete policy levers can be used to move countries from commitment to actual implementation of visa-free regimes?
Thank you very much, Mawuena, for having me today. First, there has been progress, as you've rightly pointed out, but much too slow. Much more is needed. 28% of intra-African travel being visa-free is progress, but it's not sufficient. And therefore, indeed, policy levers are critical. What can the bank do? The first is to continue investing in the infrastructure of integration, the road, the rail, the ICT infrastructure, the airports, and also SATEM, which is the single African air transport market. Investing in that infrastructure is extremely important because it creates the base for facilitating. The second one is to look at the particular pain points that countries have in creating the systems of trust and confidence and investing in making available financing that can allow for countries to fill those gaps. I think the third piece is really continuing on this journey of data-driven analysis that can inform the right policy choices for countries. Of course, we must not stop advocating for ratification of the Free Movement Protocol on the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Right. But this report highlights as well a gap of some sort between the top performers and the rest of the continent. What explains this uneven pace of reform, and can peer pressure or regional blocs be better used to bring slower moving countries on board?
Well, I think that you're right when you say that there is a gap. Now, what explains the gap? I think one has to look first at the fact that the report really assesses data as notified, and therefore we don't see necessarily the reasons behind that, but we do conduct a series of policy dialogues to better understand why it is that 28% is as far as we could have gone so far. And there you see countries, even those that have done well, not having a linear move, but really contending with multiple issues. Some could bring it down to jobs and the fear of loss. Others could bring it down to questions around fragility and trying to manage for that. But what we also see is that the countries that have managed to give visa-free Africa benefit a lot, not just from tourism, but conference tourism, skills circulation, investment, and so on and so forth. So the regional economic communities can play a role. And indeed, it is there that we see actual success, that in the regional economic communities, you see much less of this contestation and much more of a rights-based visa-free movement. So if you look at ECOWAS, for example, 100% reciprocity, we need to learn from that. Right. We need to ask ourselves, why is it working in ECOWAS, and learn from that and multiply the lessons across the continent.
Right then, Doc, I appreciate you joining us, and most definitely it's a subject matter that we will look into again, because indeed the free movement of individuals to and across the continent is of importance to all of us. But I appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mawuena.
Right. Now, away from that, an Accra Circuit Court has granted bail to John Odate Lamte, the man captured in a viral video assaulting his wife. The bail sum was set at 100,000 cedis, with two sureties, one to be justified. As part of the conditions, the court also issued a restraining order barring the accused from contacting the victim and the children involved. The case has been adjourned to January 19, 2025. The Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, DOVSU, Circuit Court has granted a 30,000 cedis bail with two sureties to Aisha to Zakari after she pleaded not guilty to a charge of causing harm to a 7-year-old. Per the prosecution's case, the accused allegedly inflicted burns on the thighs of the victim.
A pupil of Guardians International School went to live with the accused following the death of her aunt. On October 23, 2025, Aishatu is said to have placed a stone on fire, removed it with a spoon, and pressed it against the child's thighs for allegedly bedwetting. She then bathed the girl and sent her to school. The abuse came to light when a friend sat on Amina's lap during break time, causing her to cry out in pain. The incident was reported to a teacher who subsequently alerted the police, leading to the arrest of the accused. When arraigned before the circuit court, Aishatu pleaded not guilty, despite reportedly admitting guilt earlier at the Nima police station.
She was granted bail 30,000 with two sureties, and I think we are appearing our next on the 16th of January.
The victim, who is Amina, will now be moved from the police custody to the maternal custody. So now the girl will be transferred to the mother. And after that, I think we would now work on applying for the maintenance of the girl, and then all other things will fall in place.
Spokesperson for the victim's family, Imam Abdurazak Idris, said they will not relent until the accused is jailed.
Our expectation that she will be jailed according to the law, but this is law. So since they give us another day, we'll be happy to come back, inshallah, to see how it goes.
Amina's aunt also raised concerns over the absence of her father since the incident occurred. Supporters of Amina seeking justice thronged the court wearing branded T-shirts with the inscription, "We want justice."
Justice for Amina.
It's definitely a subject matter we'll keep an eye on. It'll take us on to another break here on the Bulletin. We'll return with Regional Hub and By the Numbers. Now, sexual abuse can and does affect, it could be anybody. Yet one group mostly left out of the conversation, men. And more often than not, the question is, what happens? In When Boys Cry, a feature by Portia Gabor, which airs today, Wednesday, December 17 at 9 p.m. on the assignment, some males who are victims and survivors of sexual abuse speak their truth with the hope that it will encourage more men and boys to come forward and report. Here are excerpts.
When I was a child, I was innocent, and so the innocence was taken away from me at the age of 16 years.
At age 16, this young man had his virginity taken away from him by his teacher. It's a fact that majority of sexual assault victims are abused by someone they know.
He normally asked us to visit him evening time because they were alone there. So I was not even going, I don't like going there. And it was a friend of mine who asked me to accompany him to teacher quarters. So when we went there, one, he asked me to come there alone. So I went there with a basket. Normally when we go there, he used to give us one of his old phones. And the phone is full of pornography. So for me, I don't prefer it, so I don't take part. So that was my friend we were watching. And I will not take part. So one day when we were coming, he took my bicycle and we get behind some old block, which is a KG. So we stand there and he started touching me and doing all manner of things. And I don't get it. So he was trying to push my trouser out. Push my trouser. So and in that manner, he started pushing me to bend down. And, you know, like, I don't also get it. I say, what is happening? So when we were doing, I saw that, oh, this, when I get to know that this is what you wanted to do. So he pushed me, he sent me to that way. He made me bend down, and that was the first time. And the rest inside his room.
He called me that I should come. When I come in there, he said that he want to give me the light up. He light up to me. That I should play the game. When I start playing the game, and then he'll make the food for me. When I eat it, and the man said I should come and lie down. When I lie down, I was lying down watching TV, and then he too come and lie down. So he lying down, and then he start touching me. So and then when he started touching me, and then I don't know that he just do that. And then he started. He'll give you some drink and then biscuit to be eating, then you will be happy. So the next time when you call, and then at the school we can just do the exam time. The man can just give you this thing. So I'm laying out so that you will write him.
And this is this evening at 9 p.m. here on The Assignment on TV3, When Boys Cry, the latest TV3 assignment by my colleague Portia Gabor. It will take us into Regional Hub. Now, this afternoon, the Paga border in the Upper East region is expected to record faster clearance of transit and export trucks following the introduction of overtime operations by custom officers. This comes after congestion at the Tema Harbour and delays along the transit corridor led to a backlog of vehicles bound for Burkina Faso. The Ghana Revenue Authority's Customs Division has therefore begun working until midnight as part of government's 24-hour economy agenda to improve trade facilitation and decongest the Tema Harbour. Let's go live right now to colleague Tanko Mohammed Rabiu, who spent time at the Paga border last night, reports that more than 200 trucks were cleared and released by customs officers, creating room for additional vehicles to be processed this morning. Castro, let us in on what's been happening. Talk to us.
You rightly mentioned yesterday I was at the Paga border around 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. when I left there. Even before I left there, they were still there. A lot of these trucks usually park there. Most of them are carrying perishable goods, which sometimes get spoiled even before they get to their destination, to the other side of the border, that is the Burkina Faso. So I had a hint, then I was there. In fact, most of these truck drivers were very excited, happy, because at least it will save them some cost and time. So yesterday, the custom officers were also collaborating well with their other counterparts from the other side of the border, that is the Dakola.
And for the drivers, what are they making of this?
Yeah, they were very excited because at least it has come to save them costs, especially most of them are carrying perishable goods, both on transit and then on export. Most of goods from Ghana are also exported to Burkina Faso, to Mali, through that route. So most of them are very happy because most of them spend a lot of time at the Paga parking lot where they pay you sum of money, and yet they are not being cleared. So this initiative by the government at least is saving them a lot of costs. According to most of them that I spoke with, they were very excited that this move, at least, it will smooth the relationship between Ghana and Burkina Faso. And then yes.
Right. Tanko, thank you very much. That's my colleague Mohamed Rabiu Tanko, taking us right now into By the Numbers. Now, Ghana's lithium deal has been pulled from Parliament following heated dispute over revenue, legality, and national interest, sparked by the government's decision to reduce the state's royalty on lithium mining from 10% to 5%. At the center of the controversy is the Ewoya lithium project in the central region, Ghana's first commercial lithium mine. The agreement was negotiated with Barari DV Ghana Limited, a subsidiary of Atlantic Lithium. The original deal reached in 2023 set a 10% royalty reflecting government's position at the time that lithium is a strategic mineral and should attract higher returns for the state. That position later changed. Under the current NDC administration, the agreement was revised, cutting the royalty to 5%. Government explained that the revision was necessary to comply with the Minerals and Mining Act, which pegs royalties at 5%, warning that maintaining a higher rate without amending the law could expose the state to legal risks.
Currently, the applicable royalty rate for mining operation, including lithium, as you know, he said as set or stated by law, and what is in the books right now. And let me talk about the history of this amendment that has happened. There was an initial royalty rate of 3 to 6%. It was amended and was stated that royalty will be at 5%. And then there was another amendment that says that it will be by an act as applicable by law. What was missing was that the instrument that should guide that applicable by law was never in place. And so, technically speaking, what you could refer to was the original one, which says that 5%.
But we know that the agreement has subsequently been withdrawn. The majority says the withdrawal is to allow for further consultation and a comprehensive review of the legal and fiscal governing framework.
As Speaker, listening to my colleagues on the other side, they have made my work very easy. They have given reasons why there's a need for us to withdraw this agreement. He's saying that he's listened to very prominent people. He's listened to so many NGOs and civil society organizations, and they are all calling on us to do further works on this very important agreement. It is for that reason that the listening minister, the listening government has decided that we withdraw this agreement, do further work involving you in this, so that together we can move.
That assertion has been rejected by the minority. We can take a listen to their position as well.
Minister, to have even come here with a very well-written statement with regards to this withdrawal, because it's very important. This House passed a resolution, and we believe that the terms that were agreed by the previous administration was the best. We listened to Sir Sam Jonah, we listened to a lot of mining experts who said that the agreement that was entered into was in the best interest of this country. But we don't know what led to the reduction in the royalties from 10 to 5% and what has necessitated.
Let's try and walk you through quickly, very quickly, because we don't have a lot of time today, but we're just going to walk you through what the situation is in relation to this lithium agreement. And so we know the commercial quantities of lithium was discovered in 2018 at Ewoya, and since then, there's been a lot of conversations which we've been walking you through. The projected revenue from all of that lithium which was discovered in 2018 is $6.6 billion US. How many years can we possibly mine? Just for 12 years. And that's why there's been a conversation as to us getting a lot in terms of value for money. Initially, we had negotiated 10%, which I spoke to you about. Now we're at 5%, something a lot of people were not pleased with. Reason why we're seeing it withdrawal from Parliament and subsequently for consultation. And so all throughout, this is a trajectory we've been on. 2017 was when exploration and discovery started. And we're here right now, 2025. Withdrawn further interrogation. We know right now even the minority says that, look, the entire movement in terms of the government initial defense of the agreement or reducing the royalties from 5% down from the 10% we were at initially to 5% and subsequently withdrawing it is basis enough for the minister to resign. What do you make of it is a question that we're asking, but most certainly a lot of people say that we need to get a bit more in terms of our royalties. But that's our bulletin for you this afternoon, which came to you from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. We're back again tomorrow with another edition of News Central. I am Mawuena Egbeta Kemini. Thanks for watching.